Good evening. Yes, it looks a little bad behind me. I've been informed and you know good advice from people that know what they're talking about that this is not going to be conducive to gaining a channel. Understood. I'm in the process of transition, and I'm moving out and going to a new place within a couple of weeks. So I got a little bit of a disaster area, and uh, but I spend a lot of time alone, and I really have been enjoying these lives because occasionally people will come in and we'll have a chat, and I like that. So uh, I'm turning it on, even though it looks a little bit funky. Um, been having shoulder issues, bad timing because it's made moving stuff around hard. I just got to give it a rest. So um, sorry. But I just wanted to talk about, and I might redo this if if too many people go, oh, that looks too awful to watch or whatever. But um, just doing that, man, I really wrecked my shoulder. So, um, thing is, I just wanted to talk about some of the jargon and slang. Another reason I do these things off the cuff is because I got a head like a sieve, and if I don't speak my mind, pardon me, if I don't speak my mind when an idea comes to it, I might not remember it the next day. So I know, take notes, but whatever. Anyway, uh, the, the slang and the jargon thing is a problem. I saw somebody talking about narrative games, um, narrative campaigns, I should say, and story lines and stuff like that. And they're Oh, you got BroSr, OSR, all that stuff, guys. And now people are mocking certain hashtags or certain movements because of the actions of a few. I don't know. I just want to stay out of it. Like a lot of people say, I just want a game, man. I just want a game. And I like the older stuff. But I think as far as discussing on what works and what's possible and so on, game design type of discussions, it's okay to have some debate um, and exchange ideas and stuff like that. So as far as like one for one time and a narrative gaming, I don't believe that they're incompatible. I have a story. It's Star Wars. It's not fantasy, but whatever. Most people at least remember Star Wars um, enough to know what I'm talking about. But I have a Star Wars story. It has a slight backstory, an introduction. Uh, it doesn't have a conclusion. That's up to the players. So I tell them uh, how the world they're in came to be. This little section of Star Wars, the details about that area, and what brought them all together, why they're here, what's their motivation and their objectives. Uh, and some people go, "That's it. If you give them an objective, you're railroading them or something." I don't think you don't have to complete your objectives. This is where you're at. If you just go, hey, come and play a game, and you just go, all right, go ahead, play. They're going to go, play what? What? You got to give me some frame of reference. You got to give me some foundation to start with. So the quick backstory, not a character backstory, quick backstory on what led up to where we're at, some details on where we're at, and a little bit of an introduction, and go from there. It's still a story, even if you're letting them write it. So, uh, my point is that to me, that's a narrative. And you may mean narrative in that something where I've written some sort of novel and I want you to participate within it, within some borders, like railroading or whatever. Um, but I just think that's a different interpretation of what is narrative. And it's not incompatible with one for one time or BROSR or anything like that. Because I don't see it as railroading. I see it as just a story being told. So, and there's other examples. one for one in and of itself. I see a lot of people going, you can't, it's keeping real time all week, all day, every hour. I don't see one for one time meaning that. Uh, I see it as uh, accounting for every minute of the day within the, well, not every minute, but depends on how you want to do it. I've talked in several other um, lives and recordings about time scale, but accounting for all the time in your simulation or your story or your world. It's all a simulation. Simulation's another one where people go, "Oh, you're talking about some heavy, crunchy, rules." Or no, no, I'm just saying that if you can, you have a realm, whether it be a sci-fi space galaxy or sector or planet or a dungeon or the sands of Iwo Jima if you're playing historical or whatever it is. You're that's the world, and your physics and all that are constructed for it. And so the time is a section of time that you consider as like a phase in a again previous uh, videos talked about turn sequence and phases and stuff like that. It's not real time. I don't know that anybody ever meant it to be real time. Certainly, that seems like a tall order. So I think the ratio thing might have been the problem. Um, but so it's just this jargon and slang and hashtags, and you got BSR versus OSR and all that. Whatever. I like stuff from a period date of the early '90s, generally backwards. The further back, usually, the better, to my personal taste. Now, if if using the hashtag OSR makes people go, "Oh, now I know what he's talking about," without him using two sentences, okay, then maybe it's beneficial. But if it's going to create these conflicts and generate this hatred or disdain or polarization, then maybe you just shouldn't use them at all, and go ahead and use the extra energy to say, "I just like games from this time frame." That's all. So, um, and I like the way the whole BROSR systems concepts. I've always used those. I've been trying to get people to buy into those by shouting out into the void of Twitter for years and never really getting anywhere because very few people uh, see me, even though I have 800 followers, and even fewer understand specifically what I'm saying because I only have 250 characters to say it. But um, I really wish we would find a way to um, maybe do without all this jargon, slang terminology, nicknames, and hashtags for everything. They don't seem to be helping anything. And in a lot of ways, they're hindering things um, through misinterpretation and through polarization. So maybe just spend the extra couple of breaths in your lungs to just say it all out instead of these uh, things. Or in the very least, let's I hate to use the analogy because a lot of this conflict is coming from the perception that some people are ideological zealots. I think that's a little unfair, and I don't think there's as much of that as people are trying to portray it as. But one way or the other, just as an analogy, um, I know that on a fairly regular basis, maybe an annual basis, uh, different denominations of Christianity sit down and they discuss the Bible and they try to, you know, make adjustments. Now, I don't want to get any further than that. I don't want to start any religious war, but the idea is just to have everybody sit down and, I don't know how you would choose people or whatever. This is probably untenable as anything other than an exercise. But I'd like to hammer out a glossary, that everybody can adhere to, so that there's not people spending uh, threads or days or whole lives, arguing over what appears to be just, you know, a minor separation in understanding of a couple of phrases or what they mean or how they interpret them or something like that. Um, I'm not strongly versed on conflict over, but it does, religions. I try not to speak about religion too much publicly because I was raised that um, politics and religion spoken in the public forum is a bad idea because it tends to get people heated and hating each other. Welcome to 2023. But I do think that some uh, some of the loggerheads that certain denominations have come to with each other do kind of boil down to the interpretation of certain things or ideas. So there is somewhat of an analogy, although I hope I don't get in trouble for using it. But anyway, um, so I just like to, it's I'm asking for that. From who am I asking? I don't know. I don't know who could ever even do something like that. But just think about it. Just having a glossary. War gamers did, to be honest. I don't. There wasn't some grand forum of experts that hammered out some sort of. But there was people that just went ahead and put out some glossaries, usually to help the noob learn, and they kind of became second nature to everybody. And over time, people just kind of adhere to them. So a lot of the definitions in wargaming tend to be a lot more solid and worded in a way that doesn't lead to multiple interpretations or misunderstandings. And I could be wrong. I certainly don't know everything about every publication and all that, but I don't see that with RPG. I've seen it in the past. I've seen certain games and stuff that had glossaries in the back, but I just like to see it revised or something because there's that. So I keep, I always open these up hoping that a couple people would pick it up and I'd be able to talk with somebody. But doesn't look like it's doing well, and that's pretty much all I had to say. But I might do a lot of editing or just not do this one at all because anybody Bueller. Wish I could have a convo. Oh well, 13 minutes is more than enough, and I've rambled on long enough. Try to edit this one.